Here are your words to know.
Words to know. Stained glass window. Numerator.
Top number of a fraction.
Denominator.
Bottom number of a fraction.
Fraction. Simplest form.
That means as low as a fraction can be reduced.
How can you write a fraction in simplest form? Think about this question during the lesson. A stained glass window has 20 panes. Out of 20 sections, 12 are yellow. So 12/20ths of the panes are yellow. Notice how the picture also shows that 3/5 are yellow. What fraction of the stained glass window is not yellow? 8/20ths of the stained glass window is not yellow.
8 of the 20 squares are not yellow.
A fraction is in simplest form when its numerator and denominator have no common factor other than 1. The fraction of the tiles that are yellow is 12/20ths. To write 12/20ths in simplest form, find a common factor of the numerator and denominator. What is the smallest common factor of 12 and 20 other than 1?
Again, they want the smallest common factor, not the greatest common factor. So what is the smallest common factor of 12 and 20, Abby? 2.
Since 12 and 20 are even numbers, they have 2 as a factor. Are 12 and 20 prime numbers or composite numbers? Why?
Remind us, prime or composite, Owen? Composite because? Okay, good answer. A composite number, what are the factors of a composite number, Abby?
Anything else, well, it could be multiplied by 1 times itself and other things.
Yes. A composite number is only, a composite number can be divided by more numbers, has more factors than just 1 in itself. Prime numbers' only factors are 1 and itself. 11 is an example of a prime number. 3 is an example of a prime number.
12 and 20 are composite numbers because 2 is a factor of both. Now let's use 2 as a common factor to divide. Divide both 12 and 20 by 2.
So when we do that, we get 6/10.
Both 6 and 10 are even. Divide both by 2.
We can reduce again by 2.
Is 6/10 in simplest form?
No.
6/10 is not in simplest form. 6 and 10 are even numbers, so you can divide them both by 2 again. Since 3 and 5 are prime numbers, 3/5 is in simplest form. Why does the fact that 3 and 5 are prime numbers mean that 3/5 is in simplest form?
If they're both prime, there's nothing that you're going to be able to reduce both of them by.
To be simplified any further, the numerator and denominator would have to be divisible by a number other than 1. Why not divide the numerator and the denominator by 1? The numerator and denominator will not change.
You get the same answer.
3/5 is 12/20ths in simplest form.
Now, just like Abby asked yesterday, what does greatest common factor have to do with fractions? Well, the greatest common factor of 12 and 20 would be 4. And so if you would have taken 12/20ths and divided top and bottom by 4 in your first step, you would have automatically got to 3/5. So you would have gotten done in 1 step rather than 2 steps. Okay? Here, with this fraction, that wasn't a very big deal. But when you start dealing with numbers, fractions that have larger numbers, like numbers that are close to 100, or something like that, that's going to mean a lot of steps if you keep dividing by 2 every single time. Okay? So greatest common factor is going to save you some time.
12/20ths of the window panes are yellow. 3/5 of the window panes are yellow.
Remember, simplest form means that we cannot reduce the fraction any further. The only common factor between the two numbers, the numerator and the denominator, are 1 And we don't want to divide by 1 because we're going to keep getting the exact same answer. So let's do guided practice on page 235, 9-7. We need to write each fraction in simplest form. So let's take a look at number 1, 16 32nds, which is 16 over 32. Now, because both 16 and 32 are even, we automatically know that 2 is going to be a common factor, right? So, I can divide by 2, top and bottom. When I do that, I get 8 over 16. 8 is not prime, 16 is not prime. We can reduce further. I can do that by dividing by 2. I could also do that by dividing by.
I was saying, because wouldn't you just divide that by 4?
So we can divide by 2 or by 4. Let's do 4 this time. Divide top and bottom by 4. I get 2/4. 2 is not prime, 4 is not prime. Common factor, Hadley?
Oh, divide by 2.
Divide top and bottom yet by 2. I will get 1/2. 1/2 is my answer. I cannot reduce 1 any further. It is prime. 2 is a prime number. We're done. Now, that is perfectly fine. Took me several steps to get there. I just chose to divide by 2 first. I could have divided by 8. I could have divided by 4. Doesn't matter. As long as I keep asking myself, is this prime? Yes or no? If it's no, what's a common factor? And keep going till I can't go any further and get my answer, I'm fine. Okay? But, again, greatest common factor comes in. My greatest common factor of 16 and 32 is 16. So if I would have automatically divided top and bottom by 16, I would have gotten 1/32. I'm sorry, not 32nd. 1/2.
I was like, 1/32. How is that possible?
No, I'm sorry. I was just looking at it. 1/2. I would have gotten my answer in 1 step. Or I could have taken 16 over 32 and divided by 8. Maybe I didn't notice right away that both are divisible by 16. I could have divided by 8 to get 2 over 4, which would then I would realize I need to divide both by 2 to get 1/2. This took me 1 step of dividing. This took me 2 steps of the dividing. This took me 3 steps. Could have took me more if I just divided by 2 every time. Okay? So, the larger the number that you can find that you divide by, it's going to save you time. And now, just like yesterday, in the problems on your workbook yesterday, yeah, it was easy to list out all the factors because you know what? You didn't have any numbers that were very large. But then when we did some more today and you realized, oh, I have some that could be like 108, that would take me a long time. It does. Here, you can keep dividing like this because 16 and 32 aren't very large numbers. It's not a big deal to keep doing steps. But if you have a fraction like 96 over 132, that's going to take a long time if you keep doing that. So think about that as you're working. Let's do one more. Let's do number 3, 33 over 77. So 33/77. I see right away that I can divide both of them by what, Hope?
11.
Divide them both by 11. 33 becomes a 3. 77 becomes 7. 3 and 7 are prime numbers. We are done.